Kylian Mbappé is one of the most gifted footballers this generation has ever produced. He moved to Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world, broke scoring records, won the Golden Boot, and put up numbers that belong in the same conversation as Messi and Ronaldo. And yet, his time at the Bernabéu still does not feel like the era it was supposed to be. It feels incomplete. It feels unsettled. And honestly, it feels mid. So today we are going to get into exactly why that is. Because the answer is more complicated than most people think. Let's start with the facts, because the stats are genuinely jaw-dropping. Since arriving at Real Madrid in the summer of 2024, Mbappé has been on a different level. He claimed both the Pichichi and the European Golden Shoe in his very first full season. He clocked 66 goals in his first full calendar year as a Madrid player, a number that beat Cristiano Ronaldo's legendary 2012 tally and placed him 9th on the all-time list for most official goals scored in a single calendar year in the entire history of football. Let that sink in. His 2025 haul even surpassed every single Messi year except 2012. He was just 4 goals away from matching Ronaldo's absolute peak. This man is operating in rarefied air. These are numbers that belong to the all-time greats. And yet, if you go on social media, if you listen to the Madrid faithful, if you read between the lines of the football conversation, something just doesn't feel right. So what is really going on? The very first issue dates back to before Mbappé even kicked a ball in a white shirt. Real Madrid chased this man for years. Years. Fans were teased, negotiations went public, deals fell through, and by the time he finally put pen to paper, a lot of supporters had emotionally moved on. The desperation had faded. The hunger was gone. And here is the brutal reality of the situation. When Mbappé finally arrived in 2024, Real Madrid had just completed a historic season. They won La Liga and the Champions League. Vinicius Jr. had blossomed into one of the best players on the planet. Rodrigo was stepping up. The team was clicking. It felt less like Madrid were signing Mbappé to fix a problem, and more like they were signing him just because they could. It was a luxury, not a necessity, and fans noticed. Instead of the arrival feeling like salvation, it felt like disruption. He was walking into a well-oiled machine and messing with the settings. The expectations were immediately sky high, not just to match what Madrid had done before, but to actually exceed it. Anything less, and fans would say he wasn't worth the massive salary and the reported sign-on bonus. The pressure was never going to be fair, but it was always going to be real. Comparing any player to Cristiano Ronaldo at Real Madrid is almost always a death sentence for their reputation, and Mbappé is no different. The comparisons are unavoidable because Mbappé is a superstar, arriving at the same club, wearing the same badge, chasing the same glory. But the context of those two arrivals could not be more different. When Ronaldo joined in 2009, Real Madrid had gone 7 years without a Champions League. They were desperate. They needed a messiah. And Ronaldo arrived like one, hungry, driven, and with something massive to prove. The club needed him just as much as he needed the club. That mutual hunger created something extraordinary. Mbappé's arrival felt like the opposite. Madrid were not broken. They did not need saving, and Mbappé, for all his brilliance, arrived without that desperate edge. Some fans sensed it, and now, every time the team stumbles, every time a trophy slips away, people say Ronaldo would have made the difference. It is not always fair, but it is the reality Mbappé lives in at that club. The PSG problem never went away. This is the one that really haunts him. At PSG, Mbappé was the main man. He had Messi, Neymar, Sergio Ramos, Donnarumma, Di Maria, and Cavani around him at various points. A stacked squad by any measure. And yet for all the goals he scored, and there were many, PSG never won the UEFA Champions League with him. Not once. Then the moment he left, Paris Saint-Germain went and won the Champions League without him. And they completed the sextuple while they were at it. That is genuinely one of the most damaging things that can happen to a player's legacy. The team winning their biggest ever trophy the year they leave, it plants a seed of doubt in people's minds. Was Mbappé the problem all along? Was his individual brilliance actually costing the team collectively? Then you look at Real Madrid. Before he arrived, the goals were distributed across the squad, team chemistry was flowing, and they were winning trophies. Mbappe arrives, starts dominating the goal tally, and the trophies stop coming. Now look, correlation is not causation, and any rational football analyst will tell you that, but try explaining that to a fan base looking for answers. After a trophyless season, the pattern is there and people see it, whether it is statistically valid or not. Here is another thing people rarely bring up directly, but it absolutely factors into how Mbappe is perceived. Erling Haaland exists. The Norwegian monster is putting up similar goal-scoring numbers to Mbappe, but he is doing it in the Premier League, widely considered the most competitive league in the world. And Manchester City have been winning trophies around him. When fans see two players scoring at similar rates, but one is winning in the toughest league with team glory to back it up, the other's achievements automatically get discounted. It is brutal and arguably unfair to Mbappe, but that is the world we live in. Until Mbappe matches those numbers with Champions League glory or a league title, the comparisons will always be used against him. No Spanish rival to drive the narrative. Part of what made Ronaldo's time at Madrid so electric was the presence of Messi at Barcelona. Two titans going head-to-head every season, pushing each other to impossible heights. That rivalry gave the whole era a cinematic quality. Every El Clasico was appointment viewing. Every Ballon d'Or was a storyline. Mbappe does not have that. Robert Lewandowski is past his peak and can no longer consistently match him. Lamine Yamal and Rafinha are exciting players and legitimate threats, but they are not goal machines in the same category. Without a genuine nemesis pushing the narrative forward, Mbappe's season can feel like it is happening in a vacuum. Great numbers but no story arc to give them real meaning. The English audience simply isn't invested. This is a factor that does not get enough credit. When Cristiano Ronaldo moved to Real Madrid in 2009, he took millions of English football fans with him. He had spent 6 legendary years at Manchester United, won the Premier League, been the face of the biggest club in England, and had a special place in the hearts of British fans. So when he went to Spain, they followed. La Liga viewership spiked in England. Every Ronaldo goal got global attention. Mbappe never had that connection to the English market. His entire career before Real Madrid was in France, Ligue 1, with Monaco and PSG. Great league, respected players, but it just does not generate the same emotional investment in England. And in today's football media landscape, if the English audience is not hyped about you, your global reputation takes a hit. Mbappe is seen as almost a foreign concept to a large chunk of casual English fans. And that gap in the fan base matters more than people realize. The Messi and Ronaldo era left an impossible bar. And then there is the elephant in the room. Mbappe grew up being called the heir to Messi and Ronaldo. That label was placed on him almost before he was old enough to fully process it. And while it brought him incredible attention and commercial power, it also set a standard that is almost impossible to live up to. Everything he does gets filtered through the lens of, yes, but is it as good as what Messi or Ronaldo did? And here is the cruel irony. Both of them are still around, still winning awards, still in the conversation. Messi won the World Cup in 2022, arguably becoming the undisputed greatest of all time in the eyes of millions. Ronaldo is still banging in goals at the highest level. Mbappe cannot even fully take the throne yet, because the previous kings are still standing on it. This creates a strange purgatory for him. He is not allowed to be seen as the best in the world yet, because those two still exist, and he will not be able to build his own legacy cleanly until they are gone from the conversation entirely. Until then, every achievement gets compared, every shortcoming gets magnified, and every trophy-less season becomes ammunition for those who say he is not in their class. The off-pitch controversies are not helping. Here is something that was not discussed as much in earlier coverage but needs to be addressed. Mbappe's off-pitch controversies have damaged how the public perceives him. The legal allegations he has faced in Europe, the tensions with the French national team setup, and reported friction behind the scenes at various clubs have all added layers of complexity to his public image that a player of his talent simply does not need. Football fans are increasingly less forgiving of off-field drama, especially when trophy cabinets are not full enough to silence the noise. When Ronaldo had off-pitch issues, his 5 Ballons d'Or and multiple Champions League medals gave his supporters something to point at. Mbappe, right now, does not have enough silverware to drown out the controversy. It becomes part of the story, and it is not a flattering part. Is the team built around him or despite him? there is also a tactical conversation that Real Madrid fans are quietly having. When Mbappé plays through the middle as a center forward, which is increasingly his role at Madrid, does it actually make the team better? His movement patterns, his need for service, his tendency to drift to the left, does it complement what Vinicius and Rodrigo offer? Or does it actually crowd out the players who were already creating chaos in that system? The numbers say Mbappé scores goals, but football analysts who watch closely note that Real Madrid sometimes look more predictable with him in the team than without him. Teams know where the threat is coming from. Before Mbappé, the danger came from everywhere. Now it feels centralized. And when teams stop that central threat, Madrid can look toothless. Whether that is Mbappe's fault or a coaching issue is debatable. But the conversation exists, and it feeds the narrative. Here is the truth that most people are not willing to say out loud. If this were any other player, any player who was not labeled the next Messi and Ronaldo, who did not carry the weight of those expectations, who was not coming into a club that had just won a double, that player would be celebrated as a generational talent having a phenomenal time at the biggest club in the world. But Mbappé is not any other player. He signed up for the biggest stage in football, accepted the biggest wages, accepted the comparison to the greatest players who ever lived. And with all of that comes scrutiny that borders on unfair. The standard is not just high, it is historic. And until he adds La Liga or the Champions League to his personal trophy cabinet at Real Madrid, the doubters will never be fully silenced. So we want to hear from you. Do you think Mbappe's time at Real Madrid has been underwhelming? Or do you think the narrative around him is simply unfair? What does he need to do to truly win over the Bernabéu? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you are not already part of the family, and hit the bell so you never miss a drop. We will catch you in the next one.